Good morning, everyone. I, Juhi Arora, welcome you all to the Global Summit 2022 on AI and machine learning. In this summit, we will discuss how artificial intelligence and machine learning are affecting education industry and agriculture industry and what will be their impact. We will also discuss how technologies are helping education industries and agriculture industries. What are the major challenges and possible solutions? And what will be the future landscape? So, we are very excited to have valuable insights from our eminent speakers and introduction with the audience. So, I would like to welcome our esteemed speakers to the summit. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we are looking forward to the great success ahead. We have our panelist, Sapna Sukul, who will be moderating this session. So I would request Sapna Sukul to moderate this session and take it ahead. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So the faculty needs to be updated every now and then. So we conduct FDPs also on the latest stuff. So whatever area you've mentioned about me. So all that is my area, that's my zone. And I provide trainings to industry professionals, to faculties, and to other upcoming professionals who are wanting to learn something new into these areas. So that's my
Okay, that's thank you for this brief. And my question to you is that can you take us through the history of improvements in technology, which we all know that it's by the second the technology is going upscale, but again, little bit from your perspective, from Second World War to AI one and machine learning as we have today. So we would like you to just highlight the journey from then to now. And after all these advancements, do you think that EdTech can do all the functions from lesson plans to lecture notes to paper setting to corrections and assessments, which in the audience who's seeing, which we know that it can be done. Being an educator myself, I know it can be done. However, the question lies is that how do we select these companies? Because there are so many assessment techniques, there are so many, you open your mail and there are so many people who are just wanting to provide these solutions. So how does one filter these solutions and what is the best for that school
Okay.
or college? Yeah.
Yeah. So let me begin with the first part of your question, wherein you talked about the improvements in technology. Now, talking about the improvements in technology, I would like to say that AI is not a new discipline. In fact, this term was first coined in 1956, and it was related to the concept of machines depicting intelligence like humans. And the Second World War laid the foundations of the term machine learning when Alan Turing, a British computer scientist, created a machine named Bomb that cracked the Enigma code, which was used by the German forces to send secure messages. Now, this was the beginning of the learning machines. Thereafter, I would say that this area did not see much development because the concept of intelligent machines or thinking machines was not well received. So very less funding was provided for such projects. Later in 1990s, the research again picked up and researchers started discussions about computers that could carry on conversation, translate languages, interpret pictures, and reason like humans. And in 1997, this became a reality when IBM's Deep Blue defeated the reigning chess champion Garry Kasparov. Then there were other developments, but around 2010, there was a sudden boom in the field of AI ML. And this was mainly attributed to the massive quantities of data, which we today call as big data. And since then, AI ML have seen an exponential growth and have become an inseparable part of our lives. So every day we talk about maps to find the optimal route. We have this Amazon, Netflix, Facebook who curate content and they make tailored recommendations. Our smartphones that can understand our voice commands, they have all working, they have all AI and ML working in the background. So since then, there is no looking back. So this was about how technology has grown and how AI ML has become a part of our day-to-day lives. Now, moving on to the second part of your question. Now, before we actually move into, let's say, how the organization who's wanting to move into the edtech industry would like to filter the organization, it depends upon your requirement. So first, let me just take you briefly to what exactly is this edtech all about. So the pandemic accelerated the rise of the edtech companies, and they continued to grow in 2021. Though recently there has been a study which was conducted by KPMG and Google, which found that nearly 1/3 online learners believe online education does not substitute traditional learning because there is a lack of interaction with peers and instructors. And that plays a really big role in the development of the complete personality of an individual. But online education has its own benefits, which cannot be undermined. And these 2 years of our pandemic have actually shown us that yes, online is something that must become part of our lives. So, what is the solution? We cannot leave the offline, we cannot completely move into the online. So, the term hybrid, which has recently become part, so that's the new upcoming norm these days. Now, as per the Forbes survey, there are 5 major categories of online education market in India with their own target groups and specific driving forces. So when you talked about selection, what do we do? How do we select? It's basically depending upon your requirement. So the first group that we have is the primary and secondary supplemental education, which is driven by quality education, the need for quality education. The second group is the people who are preparing for exams. So there we have the online test preparation, where students are looking forward to a deeper understanding of concepts rather than just preparing for their examinations. Then there is a third category of learners which belong to those which are going for reskilling and online education. This is mainly dominated or driven by the IT professionals. They're looking for reskilling and upskilling to move on to the next levels within their respective job domains. Then there is higher education. The fourth group is the higher education. This is a bit limited, I would say, because of the lack of clarity on the regulatory framework. But recently, I would say that the government has also allowed students to pursue 2 degrees simultaneously, wherein one can be in the online mode and the other compulsorily has to be in the offline mode. And the fifth category is language and casual learning, wherein people, if they want to learn certain foreign language or they want to go in for some kind of training for, let's say, guitar playing or some music or something else. So that's the fifth category. Now, if I talk about EdTech can help in all these 5 areas. And AI-enabled EdTech platforms, they are playing a big role in education, both for the educators and for the learners. And it is not just the private players, but the government has also recognized the importance of AI. Especially if I talk about the new education policy 2020, it also emphasizes AI, use of AI in EdTech for enhancing both teaching and learning. Right. So the normal learning strategy that we have for learners is that you listen, then you memorize, then you test and you repeat. But AI enabled edtech platforms can do a lot more. For example, what the learners get, adaptive and personalized learning. So we need to keep all these factors in our mind. What exactly are we looking at? So adaptive and personalized learning. Are we looking at this? So the platform can trace each learner's progress skills and knowledge gaps and use this data to provide them curated and personalized content for highly individualized learning. Then there are quick response systems that these platforms provide. Every student faces this problem of timely resolution of queries and problems. And these platforms have chatbots. They have other AI tools which provide 24/7 help to the learners. So if a student has a problem, they can post their problem there or even just a picture of the problem, and the platform would provide the easiest solution. Then there is, through these platforms, availability of reliable content and global exposure. Now, they all provide a quality content. So it's dependable, It has been created using AI, and every school or every educational institution gets access to the same standard content. So every learner, be it from any area, they get the opportunity to learn from a wide choice of the courses available across borders and regardless of their time zones. And this global learning empowers students to widen their horizon. So I'm not limited to something that's happening in India only, but the world is open for me. Then the other aspect that these platforms provide is gamification, which is a very important aspect of enhancing the user engagement using simulations. The other thing that's recently coming up is use of the virtual reality technologies, wherein students can wear certain wearable devices and they get engaged through a multi-dimensional content which is there in a virtual world. And this provides a real lifelike experience. So you don't have to memorize how a heart works or how a heart pumps blood. Rather, you can see it working. Plus, how a machine gets started. For example, in the Three Idiots, we saw how does a machine start. So it's not bud 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 or something of that sort, but rather you see the internals working in that 3D area. It gives a very wonderful experience to the student, very engaging experience to the students. Another very important aspect of these platforms is dealing with the students with special needs. So anybody who's visually impaired. So there are certain tools like voiceover, talkback, Siri, where they can speak out their request. For example, if I'm wanting to search, there is a Google search. So I can speak out and the search goes. Or I can speak out to write an article. Similarly, for people, for students who have hearing disability, so they don't have to lip read somebody. Rather, there are tools like Roger Voice, which can be used, for example, if they are in a group discussion. So there are multiple speakers speaking. So this tool can transcribe the discussions and say that this, and they can specifically, mark that this was the statement given by this individual and so on, and the people can participate, the students can participate in the group discussion. And these tools are available in multiple languages, so there are no language barriers also with them. Now these platforms also provide digital content which has become a part of a student's life. Digital content is easy to generate than the printed content, and digital books are available in different languages and can be easily translated and retrieved by a wider user base. And especially for people with learning disabilities, they can listen to the content in an audio format. So these are some of the, I have not mentioned all, but then some of the features for the students. Now moving on to the educator side, what is in it for the people? So if I talk from the educators, they spend half of their time in the operational work. So these platforms automate that, wherein teachers were spending half of their time grading assignments, completing paperwork, and so on. AI can come to the rescue and they can engage themselves in other important tasks. Now, if I talk about the examination system, AI-based proctored examinations were used by a lot of universities for their entrance exams during the pandemic. Then coming on to the grading side, in online platforms, ML provides unbiased and fair grading to the systems. We have AI bots, which can be used for grading multiple choice questions. And machine learning can also be used for identifying plagiarism, which is a very important component when we talk about online. And the trust in the online system goes up because people copy. So it can be used for checking plagiarism also. Then another technology which is slowly and steadily becoming part of this is the blockchain technology. Yeah. Where we can store and secure the records of the students and the learners and analyze how they are consuming the material which is being offered to them. And we can analyze it and take certain data-driven decisions based on that. Then apart from that, enhancing the student engagement is a prime concern for educators. So educational institutions are seeking help of the edtech providers for using advanced interactive whiteboards. And there is a shift from projector-based displays to touch screen displays. And we all hear about smart classrooms. that use animations, multimedia, audio, video, graphics to improve the involvement or engagement for the students and teachers both. And in fact, it's not just the private players, but even the governments are also doing it. So in January 2022, the Delhi government started the initiative of installing 20,000 plus smart classrooms in the schools. And they started by installing 16 smart classrooms in Shahid Amir Chand Sarvodaya Vidyalaya. So this is a good move. So even the unprivileged or underprivileged, I would say, they can use these facilities. So
Absolutely.
coming on to a summarization, it offers a low cost alternative, provides quality education to everybody. So there's an increased demand from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Convenience of studying from home, cutting down the travel time, availability of a variety of courses, self-paced learning mechanisms and modules, then industry relevant training that prepares for specific skills. And apart from that, these platforms also provide value added services like career counseling and enhanced progress tracking. And for working professionals,
Absolutely.
there is flexibility of study and also recruitment assistance. And
Thank you
with
so much, Sri.
applications, we all know instantaneous.
I guess that you can go on and on because there's so much to offer now
Yes,
that
yes, yes.
the listener who is the audience who's listening will say, "Ab main kya karoon?" Because there's so much to offer, and every day listening to uh, eminent speakers like you, I get more complex. That what do I do? Do I learn blockchain technology? Do I learn about machine learning, or do I be redundant the way I am and just keep listening to all of
Exactly.
you and make? So yes, it's very true that with your whatever you said, that teachers are not going to be replaced by computers.
Exactly.
Computers are just going to be the helpers
Assistant.
for us. So they've got
Assistants.
assisted or helpers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Coming to Avinash, Avinash, I was just reading your profile. So before I read it, let the audience know who you are. You're the CEO of Sense. Avinash is a way cool CEO of Sense, a way cool enterprise. So you will have to explain us what is way cool enterprise before we start. It's a tech focused trained incorporated to help clients efficiency govern their business with ease and enables them to take informed decisions using real-time visibility and controls across the supply chain. Avinash will lead the SaaS and other tech services business and Sensa offers. He's an alumni of, so such people don't leave any institution. And then they study from everywhere and they give a little bit complex to people like us. We have not studied in life. So he's an IIT Madras alumni. I am Calcutta alumni, and I'm sure he'll be earning further to add one more degree to his CV, which he'll tell us now. With more than 9 years of rich experience in strategy, technology, and management consultancy, he joined Waycool in 2018 as the Chief Strategy and Technology Officer, instrumental in building the platform tackle food gardening. So what I guess is like you are more from the agriculture and food side. So I'll pose the question later. But first, I would like to know a little bit from you that what is Sensa and what makes you leave IIT, IM and all this and come to agriculture industry? That in 2 minutes, and then I pose the question, maybe.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Sapna. I think the answer to that is I think if you look at the biggest sector in the world, right? If you take any geography and sector as a combination, right? I think maybe perhaps after the Chinese food industry, the Indian food industry would be the absolute biggest industry itself, right? The global food industry itself is a $10 trillion market, much higher than the GDP of even India, right? And if you look at just the Indian agri and food space itself, I mean, you have different numbers going around, but it's roughly around 700, 800 billion dollars of market. So yeah, I think while a lot of manufacturing industries and service-based industries have grown over the years, still a good 25% of the GDP comes from agri as a space. But for various reasons, I think while technology has had significant advancements in different sectors, this being the oldest and the largest sector, has perhaps not moved so much in the past with technology, and that was something which a few of us were very keen on trying to change. We wanted to understand what was it that can make agri and food um, be a lot more productive as a space, right? I mean, we hear about food security, we hear about food deficiencies in different places and so on. What would it take for us to actually make a difference here? And what we learned, surprisingly, when we first started this as part of vehicle itself, is that India no longer is a food deficient country. I think a lot of people used to, I mean, even a few years back, worry about deficiency of food, food not growing so much. Therefore, how do I grow a lot more food and so on? Right? And I think while the yield improvements and focus around growing food is important, what we see is that actually if India is a food surplus country, then where is there an inefficiency in the space itself? What we realize is that is in the food supply chain itself, right? And that about 25% of the food which is produced in India is actually wasted because of leakages in the supply chain. Just to give a context, that's the
What are
entire amount
principles
of
you are
food.
going to suggest to make this technology better? Because as you said that we have surplus of agriculture, and a person like you joining the agriculture domain especially, and like it just endorses what I heard just a few days ago. Somebody just told me that, have you ever thought of doing some work on agriculture? I said, agriculture? I just know what is little bit of farming, but agriculture after education, you're asking me to join agriculture. So he told me this, what exactly the words and figures you are mentioning, that this is what agriculture industry is today in India. And we need people like you and many others to understand what it is. It's not just a farmer's market. So what are you doing, especially through your field and through your company, so that you can explain all of us that how AI and machine learning tools will make it more efficient and beneficial to all the parties, the farmer, all the stakeholders with agriculture.
Sure. I think what is important to understand, as I was saying, is because of the wastage being primarily in the supply chain, our focus was in the entire agri and food as a supply chain rather than just the farmers on one hand or consumers and even the, say, the kirana stores or the retail shops on the other hand. This is a multiplayer ecosystem. So you have the farmers, you have processing units, you have warehouse and storage players, you have different kinds of distribution network players, whether it's on the sales side or it's on the logistics side. Then you have your B2B customer, or whom we typically buy our food from. It could be kirana stores, it could be e-commerce players like your Instamart, Amazon, Flipkart, etc., Zepto, etc. Or it could be your the kirana stores itself, and us as consumers. And if you notice that different players in these ecosystem come from very, very different backgrounds in terms of digital literacy, in terms of I think understanding and exposure of the broader space. But primarily, so it's safe to say that most of these players have been acting in silos. And what we felt was building one common platform across all of these players, ensuring that there is transparency of information flow, which then helps in seamless material and money flow across the ecosystem, would result in significant optimization across the supply chain. Right? Therefore, you're now aiming for a more global optimization rather than localized optimization for each of these players. So Waycool built the physical business model and the supply chain for the material and money flow through this through an alternative supply chain itself. Sensa, as the tech platform behind it, builds the entire food operating system, which runs this for Waycool and will soon start running this for other players, not just in India but globally as well. There are five areas of the Sensa platform itself. I'll briefly talk about these five areas itself, and then how AI and ML solve critical problems in each of these five areas. First, obviously, is the farm side tech itself, the pre-harvesting. So that's the area where, of course, you had different people looking at how do I improve yields and so on. But we go one step back in terms of what is the that I should cultivate, right? So basis the demands which will happen not today, but when I actually harvest the produce, what is the crop, and basis the soil conditions, the nutrients in the soil, basis water, and all of that. What is the crops that need to be cultivated by a particular farmer, which could give him or her the best returns, as well as is ensure that there is limited wastage in the supply chain. Then we actually work with farmers. Technology supports them in terms of various elements from growing till pre-harvesting. It starts from what sort of a seed provides what sort of productivity, what inputs have to be provided, what is the level of irrigation which happens, right? I think a very important piece in irrigation is just like how less water and less nutrients is harmful for growth of the plants, high amount of water is also equally harmful. You need to be precise in terms of the amount of water, amount of nutrition which has to go in, and all of that. So this is an area where we combine both IoT sensors in the farms, which cover micro weather conditions, soil conditions, etc. on the one hand, and have ML-based algorithms running on top of that, using almost 40 years of data to provide very, very accurate understanding in terms of exactly how much irrigation is needed for this crop in this area, how much of nutrients of different kinds needs to be provided, and so on. And then we automate the motors also basis that. So this helps this assists the farmers in having a lot more precision in their farming itself, and obviously the yield improves. The next stage is this is on the farm tech sensor reaps platform, which is pre-harvest. The second platform is on the selling by the farmer or procurement by the supply chain players, which is the sensor source platform. Here now there are like two three elements coming in. For the farmer itself, there is a window in which they can harvest the products. When exactly do they harvest so that they get the best yields, I mean best realization? So there you have the pricing dynamics coming in. Fruits and vegetables pricing is very, very volatile in terms of one day it will be 10 rupees, within a week it will be 20 rupees per kg. It's extremely dynamic based on how a global supply demand situation is, and so on. So that's where we help them with the prediction in terms of what is the pricing on different days, and therefore when is the best time to harvest a particular crop. Also, what we help with the supply chain companies is to entirely plan and manage their sourcing. So basis the demand which is forecast by the supply chain players, again using ML deep learning techniques to forecast based on past data in terms of how much is the demand for different consumer sets. Then we actually break this down based on supplies available in different places and the prices at different places as to what should be the supplies which has to be obtained from different regions. And thirdly, of course, is the price at which the material should be obtained itself. So the entire forecasting of demand, conversion into supplies from different places in terms of quantities, as well as the pricing identification and tracking of the material to the supply chain facility is all covered under this second piece of the technology, which is on the procurement tech itself. So here you use, as I said, forecasting techniques for volumes, pricing, etc., which is ML based, combined with optimization techniques for transportation, the landed prices, to derive supply versus demand matching, and so on. The third is the technology which we use for the warehouses itself, or what we call as the sensor depot platform. So the critical thing is once a product is harvested, especially fruits, vegetables, you can go to the extreme cases like leafy vegetables like spinach, etc. The material needs to reach the consumers as quickly as possible. So typically in Vehicle, 80% of our fruits and vegetables takes less than 12 hours from harvest to reach the customers, even if they're in different parts of the, no, even if they're in different state also. In the case of spinach, etc., it's 4 to 5 hours, which means after the harvest is done and the material reaches the warehouses should not be having a lot of time being spent in terms of obtaining the material, arranging it for the different customers, and then shipping it out. That has to happen in an automated manner. But at the same time, you're handling very, very sensitive products, such as which, if you touch the material, whether if you touch tomatoes, automatically the shelf life of those products reduces. So, how do you automate this process, but with minimum physical touch of these fruits and vegetables? That's where a third piece of technology comes in. This again includes physical automation in terms of conveyor systems in the warehouses, on top of which we have AML solutions, which does your matching between supplies and demands and the route planning for the different products as well, so as to ensure that as the supplies come in, you already know which customers the material has to go to. It's immediately sent to that, and the vehicle can leave. So the material spends as limited time in the warehouses as possible. The fourth area is in the distribution itself, right? And this is a lot more in terms of your last mile fulfillment. Basis different shops and the requirements. How do I optimize the logistics network basis the traffic which is there, basis the vehicles availability, basis when the supplies come in? The entire fulfillment network optimization has a lot of algorithms which goes in the back end behind that as well, both in terms of prediction of when supplies come, prediction in terms of when the requirement is there at the customer end, and operations optimization for the vehicles management itself comes in here fourth. The fifth and the last area, but that equally critical area, is on the retailer side itself, and that's the retailer technology which comes in. We call it the sensor commerce platform. So this is not just about helping the retailer order produce from the supply chains. What we actually do is for the different retailers itself, we provide them with both merchandising support and actual advisory in terms of what is the potential for each particular variant of a product to be sold in that particular retail store. And this is reasonably non-trivial, right? And I'll give you examples. Say you're selling different variants of rice in Mumbai. The variant of rice which you would sell, say, in Dadar will be very, very different from the variant of rice which you will actually sell in a place like Matunga, which is a lot more Tamilian population. So you should actually stock a lot more of the Ponni rice variant, which is what is eaten in Tamil Nadu, in Matunga, as compared to some of the other variants which Maharashtrians would have a lot more. So these nuances are provided again basis AML tool, where you study demographic and socioeconomic factors on the one hand, and at the same time study different retailers' past purchase behaviors. And you'll have different retail segments having different behaviors based on where they are situated, having different behaviors and so on. Basis that we provide the actual intelligence in terms of what is it that the retailers should stock. This is important from 2 points, right? One, for the retailer itself. For a retailer, it's ultimately real estate. What they need is material to come onto their shelves and leave their shelves as quickly as possible. The of the material is what is most important for them. Secondly, if the retailer is going to be stocking material which does not sell much, it's ultimately again a case of supply going to a place where the demand is not there and food being wasted. So both these elements get solved in this aspect. So to summarize, I think what Vekul did from a business model perspective and what through Sensa we believe in is ag tech or food is something which is not to be studied in silos at the farm end or at the consumer end. It is something to be studied as a full supply chain tech end across all of these 5 elements. And the way to actually solve for food security, not just in India but globally, is not just focus on, say, yield improvements and yield optimization, but also supply chain optimization. And thirdly, understanding consumer behaviors stronger and stronger to actually make changes in the whole growing and supply chain patterns, which could be more sustainable from a food security perspective, but at the same time supports the tastes and behaviors which the consumer needs. And this, all these elements have, strong AML backing behind building these. The last one especially is a very, very exciting space for the
Thank you.
different solutions.
So what we've seen is like it's not really education has got those 5 steps of how to choose a tech company. Agriculture also has 5 steps of how what can and how he has just capsuled it and told us that how it is just making the global transition of India, which has got vast land here to there, the rocky lands. So I'm sure with people like him coming in, we'll see Leh, Ladakh will be had the Rocky Mountains will have more fertilization and more greens over there, and we'll see apples and orchards being in the landscape in the not a very hilly area, which we have already started witnessing, and we'll see grapes coming in North India and maybe the fruits which are grown in North India to the West India, and yes, so on and so forth. There's so much takeaway from both of you. Like I've been noting it down. I thought I'll sum it up by writing one or two points, but there are far too many. So I'm sure people who are witnessing, they are noting it down. The ones who are not, they'll be seeing the recorded message, and it's a full-fledged lesson for all of us to take a, when we say master class. So here is a master class going on with all these five eminent educationists and leaders in AI and VI. Coming to Zeba. So Zeba, you and I share the same platform. We both are educators. We both have almost 25 years of experience. And Zeba says that she helps people and children to maybe enhance their skills in machine learning, which helps them with decision making, data scientists, and care disciplines of computer science. She has expression handling, business analytics, machine learning projects, deployment and database handling. She has more than 30 research papers. Sorry. This is you. Sorry, I'm sorry. You have 22 years of experience with digital command that has critical thinking, all the 21st century skills, whether it is critical thinking, creativity, imagination, communication, digitization, citizenship. She is ready to take on that through AI and VI. And she's also helping with socio-emotional support and guidance service. And she's counseling to students. So Zeba, with you, like first, as you said, you're counseling the students. So what sort of counseling are you doing? And since I'm also into critical thinking and but I just do subject based. So how is it different AI based study on 21st century skills? So my question to you is, we all have seen this rapid technology movement, which they both have told us, and how it will be integrated in the current syllabus, which is coming by NEP or other boards, say IGCSE, CBSE, or IB, or state board. And how machine learning do you think it actually works? And if it works, then how do you think that it should be dealt in a greater way in all schools? I'm not just talking about the private schools, but I'm not just talking about the Delhi schools. Every government school, maybe every state, and they are already doing this work. But would you like to give some valuable tips on how they can enhance this skill?
Yeah, thank you, Sapna ma'am. Since as being as an ICT teacher, just begin to uncover the capabilities of virtual technologies like virtual and augmented reality, developing adaptive physical tools through computational visualization to understand the educational, social, and contextual impact of different interventions and outside the classrooms. So, from morning to night, are surrounded by computers. I can't imagine ourselves without it. So, our online games and puzzles have replaced our old board games, and OTT has changed our entertainment consuming habits. So pandemic has changed a lot of existing jobs and creates a lot of new jobs that we have never thought will ever exist. So the coming age is going to be completely dynamic, and our current curriculum was not enough to prepare our students for the coming market. So the NEP has introduced coding at a young age to enhance the exposure to technology and create a path to new world of innovation and creativity. So tech thinkers and educators believe that coding is a game changer and new generation will use analytical thinking to solve the problem. It will help in developing skills to deal with problems, whether it is math, science, or humanities, and will be ready for the future job. So why coding is important in school education? Coding help in developing the ideas which leads to the creative and analytic thinking process. It helps to prepare the kids to become future entrepreneurs, and it is also makes the foundation of the kids at the early age and can adapt to anything and can learn anything. It is the best time to introduce coding to them because of their grabbing and learning power. Introducing coding at an early age, they can focus and learn if it's same as they learn other foundational subjects and make future ready. So other you the ability to create and innovate. It allows creating mindful creating mindful of ideas and use their imaginations to create any programming and software through imagination and creativity. It brings innovation to personal and uh, professional life ability to give them jobs. So, as artificial intelligence in education has become a hot topic nowadays because it changes how we learn quickly. So, what does it mean for the children? Is there any shift for children due to AI being incorporated into their learning process? Artificial intelligence is in education has the potential to be a game changer for every child. Many schools are already using AI across the country, and you must know that how AI can benefit to your child. So how it is impacted. So technology has always played an important role in education, but its current use in most prevalent that ever thanks to the increasing availability of smart devices and web-based curriculum. So, with the rise of artificial intelligence in education, there was many different ways it is being used to help students learn. Here are the few technologies with AI that are already affecting and will affect education in every way. As Rinku ma'am already told about the some of the affecting technologies like chatbots, virtual reality that we are using, and the LMS, the learning management system. So how it is impacting that in this age of technology, one of the most important things is to stay up to date with advancement in education. So one of these advancements is the use of learning management system. One of these as learning management system provides a centralized innovative systems for managing all schools' online activities. So these tools can be used for a variety of purposes, but they often utilize to achieve the following: to assign coursework, communicate with the students and parents, track student records, generates reports on student performances. So these systems allow all aspects of courses to be contained with one space for lessons and assignments to assessment and grading. This means that the teacher can provide feedback or any assignments or assessments at any time. Students have instant process to their grades without waiting until the end of a semester. A lot of topics can be learned by using these elements with AI software. A learner can get help by using an AI powered intelligent digital tutor, which helps them with their problems and provides them with the correct answer to solve their problem. With artificial intelligence, one can even build a learning management system that is able to understand how students are thinking and help them to learn better. So there are now LMS systems that can help teachers in creating content, helping parents in monitoring their child progress in the systems, uh, and assisting them with an AI engine.
Okay.
This has helped teachers reduce classroom management time, assisting parents to understand their child progress better, and lessening teachers' workload. LMS is are an invaluable
Yeah.
tool for both teachers and students alike. So now we come to one of the major part of AI, that is robotics. We are lack of robotics area. So robotics with the artificial intelligence in education has increased over the last few years. So it is now being the used for both teachers and students to help in education, which can be seen to improve student engagement and safety. With AI current development, robotics in education is inevitable. So robotics can be an excellent resource for learning for both students and teachers, a way to explore a topic in depth without getting bored. So for teachers, this means robots can provide a way to have more one-on-one time with students who need additional help. It also allows them to experiment with new ways of teaching, which is essential when trying to reach different types of learners. So for students, it's a chance to teach themselves something new without the pressure of being the only person in class or having their peers judge them for making mistakes. So
Right.
robots can offer that space that space where they don't feel embarrassed, and
Thank
if they
you,
don't get
Zeba.
something right way. So teachers can also use robotics as an instruction tool to teach lessons about the current events, or even math concept like
Okay.
fractions. As technology involves it, if and already plan
Thank
to
you, Zeba.
essentially.
I'll come back to you. Yeah, thank you so much, because what you said has already, like, robotics, the data science already has been covered by educationists, and what you endorse is, as a teacher, you validate what the other speakers have said, that yes, this is required, and you have been using it, and you recommend these tools to all the teachers who are listening to us. And I'm sure with your the way you said that you are dealing with so many students and the teachers and counseling them for this, and you have endorsed that these tools which you are talking about, and the robotics, data, AI and VI tools, how they are. So we would like to come with your one of the case studies after this, that how you have improved on something using one of the tools after this. Coming to our next speaker, we have Anish Singha. Anish is an entrepreneur. So I want to know the difference between entrepreneur and entrepreneur. With 18 years of industry experience, he leads decision science practice at Nagaro, and has vast experience in productizing large-scale machine learning solutions. So people like Zeba and I and all the educators would like to know a little bit from you. Anish has helped a diverse set of clients realize value from data by applying techniques like machine learning, reinforcement learning, Bayesian inference, and graph analytics. So this is something, a new word which I came across, Bayesian inference. I'm sure the most of the audience also are not aware of this. So would like you to highlight these two words first. And after that, the question to you is, what is the use of artificial intelligence, well known through driverless trains and vehicles? Do you think this concept, driverless trains, we have seen, do you think the driverless cars are going to be in India very soon? And can you explain the how it will come in form of machine learning, since you're into automated heavy machine learning? Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I'll start answering your first question. So the difference between an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur is an intrapreneur is a person who innovates within an organization. So they do not start their own organizations, but they have liberty within their own organizations to do something, without starting a new business or a startup, right? So that's the first difference. Uh, okay, so a little bit to answer your question, I think, yeah, self-driving, self-learning cars are
And the
definitely.
second one also, the last statement which you say that this is inference or something, what is that going? What does that mean?
Sure, sure. Okay, let
Bayesian.
me take the Bayesian learning first. So Bayesian learning is a very interesting area of machine learning. It actually works exactly in the way humans work, right? For example, how do you bring in your past experiences when you are making predictions? Like, for example, if you have, let's say, if you have a an alarm system at your home which detects, thefts. Now, if you see that that alarm system is faulty and it is going, it's just triggering itself, without the actual theft, you tend to create a belief that, this is a faulty, and next time the alarm goes off, you're not that much worried because you know that, from the past 10 instances, you have seen that, the alarm is actually not telling you what the actual situation is on the ground. So very similar concept can be applied to machine learning, where you can bring in prior beliefs, whatever beliefs domain experts have, whatever belief, organizations have or individuals have, that can be brought into the machine learning model. And then the machine learning model will use the future data evidences to fine tune that belief. It will not stick to that belief. It will not entirely jump to a new belief, but it will use data evidences to start making modifications over a period of time to learn something. So it's a quite interesting field, and I think there is a lot of advancement already going on. A lot of open source packages also like PyMC3, which already are in use, in the industry for such inferences. And this is already being used also in the self-driving cars. I will touch upon that. The third question, this is also being applied in that context. So little bit then moving on to your next question about the self-driving cars. I think this is really a amazing piece of technology. We as in the childhood we used to see science fictions around these topics, and in seeing in the movies self-driving cars and so on. But today you see this is already a reality. Uh, just to put some numbers around this, US already has about 1,400 self-drive cars running on the road. And within 3 years, within just 3 years, this number is going to go up to 8 million. So you can imagine the amount of growth this technology is going to see worldwide. And it's not that India is very far behind. See, there was a point in time where we used to believe Google Maps will never work, is going to work in India, because there are so many complexities. Even there are a lot of roads which don't have even names. But today we see that it's already working almost perfectly. Right. So similarly, I have full belief that self-driving cars will be a reality in India. It's only a matter of time when we get there. Experiments are already being done in controlled environments. For example, Mahindra and Mahindra did some experiments with self-driving tractors in a controlled environment. So I think soon this technology, would be there. But I think at the same time, we have to be careful that, this does not cause any harm or damage, as much as, it can cause the benefit. So now, just to put a little more things into context, let's also understand what is this, autonomous driving. What are the levels of, self-driving car? So as per the body of autonomous vehicles, there are 6 levels of self-driving cars. So the first level, as we all know, is there is no automation. We all drive manual cars, and that's how it is. The next level is I think also what we are very familiar with is the cruise control, where in certain conditions you can hand over certain specific functions to the car. Okay, run the car at 80 kilometers, and I'm not going to intervene unless I need to. Right. So that is the second level of automation. The third level is where the vehicle starts to take over few more functions. For example, it starts to control the steering, or it starts to accelerate and deaccelerate by itself. For example, if it knows that there is a car in front of it, and if you continue at the same rate, you are going to hit the car, it will deaccelerate automatically. So that's the third level. The fourth level is where it becomes cognizant of the environment around it. It can fully recognize what is going around, uh, what vehicles, what buildings, what intersections, etc. are coming. So that is the fourth level, where it is aware of the environment. The fifth level is where the vehicle will be automatically able to drive 80 or 90% cases. It will be automatically able to cover only few instances where there are unforeseen situations or rare scenarios or critical points. There human needs to take over, but otherwise the machine is good to do it by itself. And the final level, the sixth level, is fully automated, where humans don't have to do anything. There is not even a steering in the car, so humans can't even intervene. It's a fully autonomous one. So looking at the levels of maturity today, I believe that we are almost towards the level 4 and touching the level 5. But as we know, the most popular company making advancement in this area is Tesla, and Tesla claims itself to be on level 2. So that's the level of caution they are taking. But it's very interesting that that these things is already happening. And I happened to take a ride in the US in one of those self-drive cars, and it was a amazing experience to see how the machine can do so many things by itself. Just to break this self-driving vehicle into the key AI components. So one of the first component is detecting objects, right? So if the vehicle has to drive itself, it has to be aware of what vehicles are there in front of it, what vehicles are there in the side and in the back. Not only vehicles, but also the lanes, how to change lanes, what are the buildings, what are the blind spots, right? What humans are appearing in the frame. So all that falls into the area of computer vision, and this is a supervised way of machine learning, where over a period of time, we teach the machine to recognize a variety of objects. And these could be, for example, even animals in certain situations, because if you were to, create an autonomous vehicle, the vehicle should be able to recognize that. So that's the first component where it has to detect objects. The second piece I would put is the distance estimation. You would have to estimate the distance in real time and in 3D, how far or how close you are to a certain object, on the road or off the road. So, and this is a tricky area, and this is where also, the Bayesian learning concept that we talked about fits in, because this is not always going to be deterministic. You cannot always apply rules and formulas to calculate this distance. There has to be a lot of probability based decisions that the machine has to take. So this is the second piece I would put, the distance estimation. Now, coming to the third piece is the decisioning control itself. Like, all these informations are coming to the machine. It knows the object, it knows the distance, it knows the speed, and so on. But how does it take the decision? So that decision, can come in a variety of ways. What is the speed at which it should be driving, when to apply brakes, how harshly to apply the brakes, right? Uh, when to turn on the headlights, when to change the lane, right? So there are a complex set of decisions that the machine has to take. And this is the place where reinforcement learning really shines. So let me talk for a couple of minutes what is reinforcement learning, since this is very close to my heart, and also, a very interesting field that is emerging. So reinforcement learning is a way of learning where we create an environment, this environment, and then there is an AI agent, right? So the AI agent interacts with the environment, very similar to how humans learn, right? So for example, if we touch a hot vessel once or twice, we learn from that experience that this is a mistake that we have to avoid. The very similar concept is today applied to machine learning, where in this virtual environment, I create all the, you know, uh, I create the setup that replicates the physical world, in the sense that every action that the machine takes will have a reward or a penalty given back to the machine. And that over, millions of iterations, the machine then learns what is a good action versus a bad action, right? So this is exactly the piece of technology that is also used in the decisioning system within the autonomous vehicle, right? And if you think beyond these three components, the speed at which all this is happening has to be extremely high. We cannot take an image, put it all the way to cloud, and wait for cloud to give us an answer what object is in the image. That kind of a latency is not possible in a self-driving vehicle. So there has to be intelligence running inside the vehicle, and this is called as edge intelligence, right, or edge computing. And there are now a variety of chips, like for example, NVIDIA chips are there, right, which can provide this intelligence right inside the car. You don't have to stream your data to an external server or to the cloud environment to get those decisions. This has to be made locally within the car itself, right? So these are, I would say, just looking the self-driving car from the piece of AI, this has computer vision, it has forecasting, it has probabilistic based calculations, it has reinforcement learning going on, it has on the car local intelligence which is available. So I would say this is a sophisticated piece of technology, the human race is already experiencing. And yeah, I mean, this kind of proves the potential of this technology beyond any doubts. I think a couple of decades back, there were a lot of doubts around these technologies, but today I think we have crossed that path, and we have, kind of everybody's convinced that this is providing value. The only question is how soon and how quickly you can realize the benefit.
So thank you, Anish. And when you were speaking this, there was a picture going on in my mind because my cousin already has this driverless car, and he bought, I think, a year back or a year and a half back. So since then, I've been having this discussion that how are you talking to me? Who's driving the car? He says it's going on its own, and he clicks a picture. He sends a video while doing all this. And actually, it is unbelievable right now also for me, whatever you're saying, though I'm taking it because it's coming from you, but still it's all many questions in our mind. So the first question I think everybody will have is that apart from whatever driverless cars will do to us, how expensive it's going to be in terms of like affordability then?
I think, yeah, in the beginning, the affordability definitely is a question. Over a period of time, as we see, technology adaptation and the production gets to mass, definitely the cost is going to come down and it is going to become affordable.
The
That we have
drivers will have
seen that with multiple technologies.
the
So,
drivers will have to find some new jobs then. As
I
we
mean,
say
it
that
will take some time. I mean, the
2040, the jobs, some jobs will fade away. So the driver's job is more or less going to go away, or I don't know. Like
Yeah,
that's
that
the
could be
question.
the case for some very straightforward routes and cases. But yeah, I think as a generation we should be prepared to take on more complex things, and this is good. I think it will only do good to us.
It will only do good to us, and a lot of like, so it's just that we have to learn and learn every day, upgrade and upskill, as Rinku and Zeba said, every
While
day.
machines are
Coming
learning, we
far,
cannot stop learning.
yeah, when machines are learning, that's what I'm learning from all of you, because all these terms, few terms are quite new for me. Coming to our last panelist is a youngster called Ekta Shah. Ekta, I'm sure now you're a youngster amongst all of us because you're the visiting faculty and scientist, learning engineer, and mentors. But you have some experience. You've not written the number of years of experience, so you please add to that when you speak. Uh, Deep learning, neural networks, natural language, and processing. She has worked with various problems in the domain of consumer goods, media, supply chain, tech consultancy. She's visiting faculty at NMIMS University, Mumbai. She's passionate about research in the field of data science and mentoring young minds in the field of AI. So before I ask you the questions, the first question you have to answer is the number of years of experience you have. Second question, I would like you to focus more on, like we've heard about supply chain, we've heard about automation. Zeba has spoken a lot about education industry. Rinku Ji has spoken about research paper and how 5 problems we can divide and how we can choose the edtech companies. Uh, we would like you to focus more about media, how it will be helpful in media and consumer goods before I post a question to you. So over to you, Ekta.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, I did not mention the years of experience as such because I think that doesn't really put a number to what you really learn over the years. And I think in this fast changing world, a lot of things are changing on the go. So, yeah,
But that
talking
puts
about,
number to your age, na? So should I call you
yeah, it
young
does.
Ekta or should I
Yeah,
call
you
you
can.
Ekta with 10 years or 20 years of
No, no,
experience?
no, 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 that's not the case. So, yeah, I have been into the IT industry for the past 5.5 years. So, I have started off with software development and then I moved on to learning about data science and AI. And that's how really moved on to this field and gained experience working on different technologies. And that's what you heard from her about the different technologies that I've worked on and different problem statements that I got a chance to work on. So, yeah, since the question that you posed was about how we really see the impact of data science AI in media and consumer goods, both being completely different domains. So, since we say like consumer goods falls into the supply chain category altogether. So, all your prediction with respect to what kind of inventory to keep, what kind of products to launch, what new products would really work with the consumer, everything around supply chain as well as a mixture of marketing comes into play over here because since we are dealing with consumers and dealing with products that they are going to be using on a day-to-day basis, we have a lot of impact of the data that comes in from the consumer which drives decisions, right? So yeah, there are a lot of applications that you would see in and around you when we talk about consumer goods. So leading companies like in India, I think most of us use a lot of HUL products day in, day out. Hindustan Unilever Limited. You'll see that we may not know as consumers of the different products what all really goes in behind launching new products or behind how the marketing schemes really work and how you really end up buying a new product. The entire cycle of you seeing a new product to buying that product, the entire marketing pitch that they make to you is in a very different way today because of the digital marketing perspective that comes into play, wherein we have a lot of schemes and a lot of marketing techniques used online, which is through your social media platforms. If you see something like, say, Instagram, say, Facebook, even LinkedIn has a lot of marketing channels, in fact. So we'll see a lot of marketing happening through those channels through which you are really made aware about the product up to another level. So that is one of the use cases where you would see a lot of marketing coming into play and helping you actually buy that product. So that is something which is very much prevalent today. A lot of data is really collected and worked upon, and after which new products are also launched. So that is a very, very integral part. They have like a huge data and analytics teams, if we really see for our major consumer goods providers, or even any kind of company which is making food today. So you'll see too much happening on the data analysis side over there, where they are trying to experiment with new technologies to come up with data driven decisions, because the consumer sentiment highly decides what is going to be the next thing in for the food industry. So what kind of products they would really look forward to, and what would be the kind of taste that they would really want in their next food products. So that is very, very essential for them to really look at data. So that would be about consumer goods. When we talk about media, so I was working with a company called as Viacom 18. I'm sure you would have heard about it at any point of time, because they are into producing a lot of Bollywood films, and they also have their Woot app. So when we talk about OTT platforms, I think data is used at a large, large scale, where they give you discount coupons to subscribe to the next plan that you have to subscribe to. Like, say, suppose you've subscribed to a monthly plan, and then they see your viewing patterns, they look at different metrics, and then they decide how to as to go about giving you certain discount coupons around it, and basically lure you into buying the next subscription plan. So that is just what you see as a user might seem like a very personalized approach, and something which is taking in a lot of data analytics at the back end. So we are actually working on a lot of data points and getting on to helping you to get that kind of discount plan. So there is a lot of things that are there which are used in the ODD platforms as well. So whenever you go to any homepage of, say, I'm sure this is something that you all will be able to relate to. Like, if you go to maybe say Hotstar, or maybe say Netflix or Prime Video for that matter, as soon as you go to the homepage, you can see a lot of recommendations that come up and populate the first web page that you see. So all of those recommendations are highly data driven. Now these recommendations totally are put forward to you on the basis of the different like users who are in proximity to you. When we say proximity, we just talk about similar interests and shared attributes, and that's what really gets you to those kind of recommendations which you're able to see on the platform. Now all of this is using a lot of data processing at the back end, and using machine learning algorithms and AI, which is helping drive all of this. So these are just some of the examples that you would see in the consumer goods and media space, where data science and ML is being used at a very larger extent. So yeah,
So
that's what you would
how
see.
do you think these? So my question to you was otherwise, because this was my personal question. I thought I'll put it to all of you only. So we see coming to the simple steam iron, and now the difficult iron, and ironing is something, it's very important. So how will you, like, and we all like see that we need an iron which just puts you like this, and just you don't have to. So in terms of just ironing, where do you think it will go? Simple
Yeah. So
iron.
now, yeah. So when you talk about, say, steam irons or any such smart home devices, right? It comes into the smart home device category, and we as a country in India have not been very easy adopters of technology at the very first go. we are really moving towards becoming like tech friendly more often with the new generation driving in decisions. Earlier, people would be like, why do you really want to experiment with these kind of devices? But now, if you see the smart home category that is there, it is growing a lot worldwide. Like it was around, say, 40 billion approximately in 2020, your pre-COVID COVID era. And now it's something that is projected at 100 billion in the next year. So you can just think about how immensely it is growing. So when we talk about smart home devices, since you mentioned steam irons, that is one of the smart home devices that you would see where you have smart steam irons, smart vacuum cleaners, robotic vacuum cleaners, rather, that would be the terminology that would be something that you can search for. And other devices like, say, smart tube lights, smart fans, smoke alarms, which you would see, and even face recognition cameras. Now, these are all things which are like a prevalent part of your home. So, we all know that when we are trying to build up a new home, we have so many decisions to take around the different products that you would be using as a part of your new home setup. Now, when we talk about these smart devices, something like, say, let's start with robotic vacuum cleaners and then go to steam iron so that it's more relatable. And when we talk about robotic vacuum cleaners, Anish mentioned the concept very nicely, I guess. It's the same reinforcement learning concept which is used in these devices. These devices have some kind of programs or codes which are written at the back end, which help you to really obstruct and really work on the different junk pieces which it comes across, right? The basic task of any robotic vacuum cleaner would be to really, go ahead and clean up the mess which is in front of it. That would be the basic task associated, right? So here, what you would really want the system to do is be able to learn on its own. The same challenges that Anish was mentioning, that we do not really want to go to the cloud system and get back a response as to whether, there is a junk piece lying in front of you or not. It's something that should be inbuilt as a part of the system itself. So reinforcement learning helps the system to learn on its own and really deal with any blockers and come up with solutions on the go. So that's what is the technology which is actually used over here in robotic vacuum cleaners. And if you see today, these are like a very common product which is available on Amazon or even on any other your shopping websites, right? So similarly, talking about steam irons, they have a lot of smart technology built in today, wherein you're using the same concept of edge computing, wherein your devices have chips which really enable you to take in smart decisions as to what temperature needs to be maintained. Where do you really need to go in for your next push towards the iron? So these are like the different ways in which like these two devices would really work and incorporate ML and AI solutions. In a way, one thing that people would really relate to would be something like a face recognition camera, right? Most of us have like a video camera or a face recognition camera which is installed at our doorstep, where we are able to see what is like on the other side of the door. Like if there's someone who's really entering your door and presses the bell and you really want to know who the person is something that can be recognized and shown to your video camera. Now these cameras have more advanced technology today, where it's able to identify if there is a person who's an intruder, if there's someone who is not belonging to the same house. So it is more like a security measure which will help you to help with like in like safety of your house, and even it will be helping in parental lock and parental cases where you can monitor your child, like how the child is really doing at home and whether the person is safe or not. So this contributes towards home safety. So smart home devices are totally helping us in the safety factor on a very high level. So that is one of the major factors wherein we are even adopting this technology after seeing its usage. And the change is really coming in with the other things as well, like where the concept of smart tube lights and smart fans are also similar, where uh, we have companies like Cisca, which are like our very common companies which we go to when we want to buy tube lights or bulbs or anything, right, in India today. We've at least moved from LCD to LED. Now we are starting to move towards smarter devices today. So that kind of a change is coming in, wherein like the speed at which the fan should be running at, or how much time the tube light should be running for, all of this can be monitored and can be totally automated. These apps are there in place today. So these smart fans and tube lights are really governed by apps. Now these apps are going to be present on your phone. So you can totally regulate all of these things and monitor what can happen at what time, right? And you can totally have complete control of your house at one single go with that app. And even though you might not be at home and you might be like present in a different country altogether, you can still control your house. So I think we cannot get more better flexibility than this to really drive the entire house that we have, which is very dear to our heart.
Thank
So
you,
yeah.
all of you. So, listening to so much of AI, VI, and how these machines are controlling our life, and all of us, all humans are going to be so automated now that from driverless cars to human recognition to agriculture forum to zeba assets, everything will be the test assessments will be controlled by machines. So there's a question which I also post in my one of my forums that after so much of artificial intelligence seeping into our system, where is the personal touch going to go? How that's how the emotional learning quotient and we say more than IQ, we give preference to EQ nowadays because we say EQ is more important than IQ. And all forums also we post these questions that forget about IQ and machine learning and everything. The EQ is just missing from all these the new generation because we are so much into the system. So with all of you like into this system heavily into the system, where do you hold EQ quotient when you're dealing with such big machines? Anyone can answer. Or if all of you have to answer, then just keep it very precise. Yes, Rinkuji.
See, if I talk about EQ, um, EQ is a factor, yes. Machines do not have feelings so far, right? But then slowly and steadily, we can see some kind of developments. Recently, you heard about that incident that a boy was playing chess. He did something wrong and his finger was broken by the machine. So there was anger. There was
Okay.
anger. So if we can see
Self-destruction.
anger at this stage, then probably we can expect love also at a later stage.
So
So
that is
humans are
self-destruction.
phase of developing. So learning is coming.
Good
Machines are learning.
example. Good. So anybody else would like to just add to this?
Yeah, I think again going back to the agree examples also, right? I think a lot of the emotional elements also are use cases which coming out as well. For example, we have been working in terms of how do we assess the consumer behavior for taste and nutritions. I mean, which is a different aspect of emotional from an emotional angle as well, right? And how do you assess that, and how do you therefore relate that to some a little bit more definitive elements like your growing and supply chain itself as well. So the use cases are expanding, right? And we will be going into a place where we still have some say proxies also for various emotional aspects which are being covered through the various solutions. And at the end of the day, the output of this should help in bringing the right emotions for for the people involved, right? And I think a lot of the use cases definitely do that.
Yeah, like we say that for agriculture, like we always say that I want the dal from this particular area because I've been that smell of that dal or that smell of that rice or that smell aroma is more that maybe that not that aroma but the feelings behind that so
Absolutely.
maybe I don't know how you
Yeah, so a
maybe
lot of
for
the purchase behavior itself in many senses becomes a
the
proxy
term is
for
called
a lot of
purchase
these.
behavior. So all
Yeah.
these terms I'm learning now, purchase behavior and Anish, would you like to add something or Zeba, would you like to add something or Ekta, would you like to add something?
I think EQ is going to be important because as we interact more and more with machines, I think we are going to miss that human touch. So I think while machines will become intelligent, we have to consciously, give a thought to the EQ part where we are not missing on that element. So I think I would say, while the all the automation and the ML claims to give us more time, but in reality, we are having less and less time in our lives, right? So that is the the dilemma of the new world, right? And I think it needs some conscious human effort to have that connect still built in.
No wonder the gurus are increasing day by day in numbers in every sector, in every region. The new age gurus. Zeba, Ekta, would you like to add?
Yeah, ma'am. Sapna, ma'am, this EQ level is much more important rather than industry. It's more important in the education industry. So we are using AI and all nowadays we are lacking behind emotion and self-awareness and motivation and empathy. We are lacking behind. So we have to take care like whatever machine learning and AI we are introducing to our curriculum. We have to take care about the EQ factor in education field. So this is some must. So one case study I would like to share with you. Like we people are working on motorized wheel, which are ability to get the disabled people the stairs, moving from climbing two stairs and walking around, walking down to the stairs. So this is the thing which our students got it done through getting emotional sense. And we have done with empathy in that. We have done design thinking in that. So we have come with this EQ factor we have introduced in our machine learning and AL while doing the artificial intelligence. This is one of the product with the student come up. This I would like to show you. This is the 3D model. Have you seen this? This is the mobile stand which one of our class 6 student have developed using the 3D printer. She knows like how to make the use of 3D printers in various sectors. So she knows how to create this using Tinkercad, Cura, and all. So she is now doing peer learning in my school.
So anybody wants any internship, Zeba is the right person. Ekta?
Yeah, so what I feel is that machines are not going to get replaced completely ever. Like, humans are not going to get replaced by machines ever. Like, there'll always be that EQ requirement, that human touch required at a certain space at least. So that is required. We've already realized that. I think over the 2 years of COVID, also, we've realized that the entire human touch is very essential. So it will not get replaced at any point of time. That's what is going to be the case.
Yeah, so thank you so much, all of you. Like we have discussed in length, maybe not in breadth, but in length, a lot of things. And few questions are still there, a lot on my mind, which maybe I'll take it not on this panel, maybe later. And everyone, the ones who are listening or ones who will be listening to this recorded talk, can come back to you and ask questions. So Anushree, would you like to take over? I would like to hand it over to Anushree and Juhi for hosting this wonderful talk. And over to you, Anushree. Juhi.
Uh, Thank you so much, Sapna ma'am. Thank you for this. So this concludes the webinar, and I would like to thank all the panelists for sharing their experiences and sharing their knowledge with everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Also, I would like to thank our sponsors from Future Lab Technology and Infront Technology for making this event possible. And lastly, I would like to thank everyone who has attended this event, and I hope you have learned and enjoyed this webinar. So thank you so much for
Of course,
being
they've
here.
enjoyed. There's so much of knowledge these people have got that they have got. They are saying, "Why are you stopping us? I have to speak more." There's lot. This is not just my forum. At the back of their mind, even when I go somewhere, I say, "अरे कितना बोलना था ये तो इतना से ही बोला और खत्म कर दिया." So 12 minutes do not do justice to any one of you, because the kind of experience you carry, the kind of technologies you are talking about, is just a, I'll say 100 part of your experience. I'm sorry I had to cut you for at times. And I appreciate, and we all appreciate the kind of work you're doing. and just motivating all of us, person like me, like to little bit to just give me that probing me that please learn a little bit more when you want to mm, work in the future. So this people like us will be redundant if we do not not match up, but at least learn few of the words which you are talking about. Thank you so much, and it was wonderful being host for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
all.